Coffee Break with Jimmy. I guess we're going to talk a little bit about the insurrection today. If one gets done, I don't know if President Trump is going to file an insurrection or not. He could right now, because an insurrection means, I never really didn't know what it meant, but it means when you get involved against the government agencies and you try to do something against the government agencies, like in this case ICE, and like they try to say Trump was committed an insurrection in 2020 when he was, or 2021, excuse me, when he was having it. They were going down to do a peacefully protest, which right now there's no peaceful protest right now in Minnesota. I don't know. They say it's peaceful. I mean, these guys they put a strap to inside of a car and ripped this box out of there that had weapons in it for the ICE agents, and they were ripping off different paperwork, getting people's names, where they live, and so on and so forth. That's an insurrection. These guys are actually interfering with government policy, and this is what they were doing. You would think, okay, if the local police, if they wouldn't tell them to stand down, and the governor and the mayor of Minneapolis has made them stand down to where they don't help out ICE. And now they say, well, how do you have that information on who to arrest? Well, these people have been these illegal aliens that's they've committed crimes, whether they're here or they're back in their home country. Some of them have committed murder, and however they get out of, they let them go from jail. I don't know how they do or why they let them out, but this information is inside the local law enforcement. So ICE understands, they get this information too, so they know who to go after. Now, if the local law enforcement would just hold on to them in jail or wherever they hold them at, and so ICE can get them and deport them or jail them, depending on what they've done. What kind of crime they have committed. Some of them have committed sodomy on young children. I mean, come on. This stuff, law enforcement is supposed to work in conjunction with one another. They're supposed to work together. And this isn't happening here. And so, this is, Trump can call for an insurrection. He can do this. And they say he probably doesn't have to. But the only reason they're doing this, and everybody knows this, Waltz and this Jacob, what is his name? I can't think of his last name. The mayor of Minneapolis. They've committed fraud, and they know they've committed fraud. This has been going on for several years. It's been swept underneath the rug. But now that it's out in the open, where everybody knows they've put to the tone of about $8-9 billion they've committed fraud. Now, this just isn't Minnesota money. This is the U.S. money. This is U.S. taxes. This belongs to all of us. And, this is going on here in California. They said other states too, like this happened in Illinois, this happened in New York, this is happening in Ohio. And I know it's happening out here in the West Coast, in Washington State, Oregon, and California. And all this is coming up, but this that's going on, this fraud that's going on with the Somalis, whether you want to, they say, they're just coming after Somalis. Well, Ilhan Omar, how in the heck are you worth $30 million now? When you came here, you're $65,000 in the hole, and now you're worth $30 million? Now, how did that come about? How did that happen? I think you're a big part of this fraud that's going on, and that's why she's out trying to steer us in another direction, so she don't get caught. The governor, Tim Walz, he doesn't want to get caught. I think he's already caught. I think all of them have got their hand in the cookie jar. So this is an insurrection, and Trump can call it an insurrection. He can. Walz wanting to pull the National Guard to go against ICE officers that are sent out from the federal government, that are sent out there to get these illegal aliens, the ones that have committed crime. And if they would help them, they would just go after the major ones, the ones that have done, some really serious stuff. Like I said, some of them committed murder. You're talking about pedophiles and they've done different things. And they can go after those if local law enforcement would help them. and no one else that's just illegal here. And maybe they work hard, maybe they do different things. Maybe there's a lot of them I know in the state of California that are like that, and they work hard. They're illegal, but they work hard. And but if they get caught up in the whole thing with them going after these illegal aliens that have committed crimes because local law enforcement won't help them out, well, whoever gets caught up, they usually get about 70% of the people that they deport, that they catch. 70% of them are the bad ones, and 30% of the ones are the ones that they haven't really committed any crimes. But this is what's going on in Minnesota, and they just won't stop. I mean, come on. When was the last time there's a protest happened when you run your cars into these ICE officers, and they're federal ICE officers, they belong to the government, and they're running their cars into their cars. I mean, that one ICE officer went to arrest one guy. He caught him, and then a couple of guys stepped out of their house there. Apparently, this is what happened. One guy grabbed a shovel, which was a snow shovel, and another guy grabbed a broomstick, and they started beating this officer. And this is an officer. What are they doing? And they do this. So the guy shoots them. Well, now they're after, well, he shot these guys. Well, yeah. They're beating the shit out of him with a stick and a shovel. Come on. This stuff, this has gotten out of hand, way out of hand. So whether Trump sends out that to where he does an insurrection on these people, I don't know if he will or not. If he will call it an insurrection, he can do it if he wants to. But there's other things that he can do to stop this. And now Waltz, I think he's backstepping now. He's not really. At first he was saying, no, get your cameras out, do what you can. And these guys, some of these protesters, if you want to call them protesters, are paid professionals. They're paid. They've got these different groups across the United States. Well, if you know where ICE is at, if ICE is there, let people know. And honk your horns, ring bells, whatever you got to do. Blow whistles, stop their cars. That's why this gal was shot. This good gal. She was shot in Minnesota. And they said, well, it was murder. No, it wasn't. She shouldn't have put herself in that position. I mean, it's unfortunate that it happened to her, but, she put herself in that position. She hasn't got nobody to blame but herself. So if this, in fact, is an insurrection, we'll see what happens. We'll see if Trump calls it and he goes that route. But they are interfering with government policy. And it just boggles the mind how they've done so much. I mean, this is the George Floyd thing all over again. George Floyd, this guy was trying to pass a fake $20 bill. That's what he got caught with. And then, well, the cops got him, and he swallowed all that fentanyl or whatever drugs that he had, and he overdosed. And they said that's actually what happened to him. He overdosed. But now this police officer is sitting in prison for the rest of his life because they say he murdered George Floyd. He didn't murder him, But this is what happens in Minnesota, and now there is a lot of state senators and state congressmen that are filing against him. What they want him impeached. I mean, he said he's not going to run for governor again, but they want him impeached. They want him out of there. And I don't know who else that would get in there to take his place. Maybe they got a lieutenant governor there that might do a better job, but they're trying to impeach him right now. So I guess we're going to see how it plays out. This is an insurrection. Now, this is an insurrection, not like January 6th of 2021. That wasn't an insurrection. Okay, but they try to claim it was. That was Nancy Pelosi's doing. She's the one that didn't have and Trump said she had use of the National Guard and people to guard the Capitol, but she didn't want to do it. She didn't want to have, the officers because Trump was still president, and because they were going to protest and they were going to go down and peacefully protest and have their voices heard. That's what was said. But no, they want to say they were going down there to fight and raise hell. That wasn't what happened. That was not an insurrection. What's going on right now in Minnesota? That's an insurrection. That's interference on the government policy and what the government's doing with the ICE officers. So we'll see what happens. And it's just outrageous. And I can't wait to see what they do in California, because they're going to come over here because there's a lot of fraud here in California. I talked about this on my last podcast. This is just it's crazy. I know this is what's going on. Everybody's talking about it right now, but there is one thing that's the bright side of all this. I probably should have mentioned this first. But Trump yesterday, he signed a bill to get whole milk back in to schools. I never knew they had whole milk wasn't still in the schools, and I guess they got I don't know what kind of milk they have there. If it's wholesome, I know good whole milk. It's got good butterfat. It's got good protein. You see, this is my job. This is something I've been doing for 44 years. I'm a milk tester. That's what I do. I mean, I don't test the milk. I weigh the milk as the cows are milking. I weigh the milk to tell you how much production the cow's given. Then I take a sample on each individual cow, and they tell you how much butterfat she's got, how much protein she's got, lactose, somatic cell. Tells you all the components of the milk on each individual cow. That's what I've been doing for 44 years. So I have a little bit of insight on that sort of thing. But, milk, good milk. That's good protein. That's good fat. The good butterfat. That's the good stuff. And they should be having that in schools. Whole milk, not powdered milk. I don't know what they give the kids now. I know they probably give them juices, or not even real juices, and sodas and whatever they're giving them. And it's just it's not good for them. You got to have good nutrition for these kids. They're young. This is when they need it. This is when they need that good milk. That fills you up a little bit. And it gives you that energy, it gives you that butterfat, that protein. It's all good for you. And I didn't realize they had taken it out of the school system. But Trump signed a executive order yesterday saying that's back in, and the kids are going to have some nutritious milk from here on out in there. So I'm glad to hear about that. And so that's like, 'cause I got a little bit of something that I kind of related to that. Pretty much for the last 40 years anyway. So I guess that's a good thing that happened here recently. But this insurrection in Minnesota, that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing what they're doing to the ICE officers down there. And now like I said, this was the one that shot a guy, and now that guy's in jail because he shouldn't have did what he did. But he came after the ICE officer. This is a federal officer. Came out with a shovel. Him and another guy came out with a shovel and a stick, so he got shot. And so they're on their way. They're on their way to jail is what they're on their way to. So we'll see what happens. But this is going to be an ongoing thing until they do something about this in Minnesota. This has gotten out of hand, way out of hand in Minnesota. So anyhow, so that's I guess not a whole lot else to talk about. But this is a coffee break. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. And see, next time that I'm on, hit that notification bell and share, and I'll see you next time on Coffee Break with Jimmy. Thanks.